All right, let's do the hero area with call to action. So where do I got here? I'm gonna need to be in this container right here, and it's behind our header, and that's okay. And there's gonna be some problems with the header. One thing I realized I didn't set when I did the header, so we'll fix it when we start seeing problems arise. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a div block in there. Can I get you in there? Yes, I can. I'm gonna go ahead and add a header, right? Because I need a header. Oops, is it in the right spot? It is in the right spot. It needs to be in the div block, however. So I'm just going to make sure in the navigator I get it in there. And so now you see it's behind there. Now, when you put it in, you noticed you could change it to H1, H2, H3. H1's appropriate. We could go change that at some point right here if we want to, or actually when we could actually grab it. Excuse me. And then I'm going to put in a paragraph. And how about this one? I'll just do over here in navigator. And I'll do a button. There it is right there. And this one I think I can get in there, right? In div block, yes, there you are. Now we see we could set things as we're doing that, but I'm going to go back and do things. So now look at this way this header has pushed down. It's kind of weird, right? And so that's one thing I noticed. One thing we didn't do when we set fixed is see we have all these autos. We really should make sure we have at least two set, one top bottom context, one left right context. I know it has all these buttons, but let's actually change that to 0. And whoops, what did I do there? I just clicked off it. And let's change this one to 0. Okay, that just, I always like to set a top left because you saw weird things like that can happen, and that's dangerous. But we still have the problem of our stuff sitting behind here. So in the instructions, it says to go ahead and add 80 pixels top margin to this container. So we're going to need to make a combo class because if we just add it to container 2, all of them will get a margin top. So I'm going to call this, I don't know, I'm going to call this push 2, just in case I ever created something called push the first time I did this, and add 80 pixels there. And that's done. I think I said in here, I think I did it a different way when I first did it, and it had to do with oh, there is some space here, this section and that's what I see. The next thing is a new issue by changing one property on the body tag. So what we really need to do here is let's actually, so we can visualize this, let me put a background on this section here, right? So this section, let's actually call it something. Let's call this, well, we're going to need this anyhow, so I'm just going to call this hero 2. And I want to put a background color to something like, I don't know, I'm just going to give it kind of a light gray. So now we see here there's this space between it and that has to do with some of the margin and the margin collapse. So why is this blue? Current. Why do I not current? Maybe that's the current page. I guess when you're on the current page, you can do something. Don't worry about that. Sorry, sidetrack. So we have this space here. How do I fix that? And the answer is to go to the body, because there's actually 80 pixels of margin right here, but notice the section isn't growing. We should be able to fix that by going to the overflow property, if I can find it. God, here it is right here. And I'm going to hit auto. And that didn't work. So maybe the answer is that we actually need this section to have overflow of auto. And there it is. It did it. It says in the description to do the body. I think I'm going rogue a little bit with how I do this. Really, the important thing is that, getting it to work. Because remember, in the web, there's probably like 3 or 4 ways to solve any given problem. I'm just trying to show you all these different ways. So that's good there. So that's close enough for us here. Let's give our content div a max width, and that's like a max width so it kind of holds all this stuff. So we've got this right here. I'm going to go ahead and give this a max width of, let's say, I don't know, 400 pixels, right, to kind of get it down. And now what do we want to do? Give your container a height of 500 pixels. So I'll go up here, give this a height of 500 pixels. There we go. How's our div here? Our div is still just the size of our content and our max width. So we are going to We want all of our text elements in here to be center aligned. So I'm actually going to just have this div block selected. And this is a tricky one, right? Because I'm going into typography and I'm hitting center, right? And remember how the cascade works, or how inheritance works, and that's what's going on there. And we also want it to be centered to the container. Use flexbox properties on the, so the div will be centered and horizontally and vertically. Well, we need to do first something. We need to grab the container and we need to make it into a flex parent. And so we do that over here. Instead of it being a display block, right, we're going to click the next one and make it a flex parent. And then we're going to go ahead and just use our align and justify to get our div right in the center. That's pretty easy there. The image is key to the hero area. Find a good one that relates to your site on Unsplash.com. Prep it 600 pixels wide, 18 pixel high, JPEG 60 quality. Put it in the hero area's background image that covers the whole width of the section no matter what size. So we're going to go in section, we're going to have a background image. And hopefully I should have the image already loaded from the last time I did this when I was writing this exercise. And so we want to go into the backgrounds. And so I'm going to say images and gradient. Yes, I want an image. And the image I want, I should have in my assets already. There it is, sky. Now it's over here all repeated. I don't want that. I want to change it to cover. It's as simple as that. You don't have to set all the other things in Webflow the way you would if you were actually writing the CSS. You could actually just say make sure that it don't tile it if you really wanted to. I don't think it's going to matter. Fixed and not fixed. Interesting. So you can make it fixed. Let's just leave it at not fixed. I didn't even see that when I was making it. Maybe they added that. We want, okay, what else do we got? Use positioning to make the image make sense with text behind it. Center, top, bottom. You may want to consider changing the size to more than 500 pictures. So what I really want you to do there is to consider art direction. So, right, I have this image, so let's kind of look at this. And so notice when I went bigger, this bottom here is kind of cut off, and that person's kind of the most important thing. So let me fix that to make that look better, so I could show you where these things are, so you could play with it. So I got to go back down in my backgrounds, right? And how do I got to click on it to kind of bring up all my options here. And background position is right here, kind of confusing. You could type in values. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And what that means is I'm making it go to the bottom and center. So now look at the difference of the image. So I have this guy right here down at the bottom. So he looks good in all of the contexts. I could obviously go fix it for any different context by going into that same area of the background image and, changing how I art direct it. But mine looks good all the way through, so I'm going to go ahead and let that go, right? I made it on the bottom. Style your text so it's readable over the image. Also change the fonts. Create a span around one word and make the text in it bold, italic, and another color. So, okay. Super simple, right? We're just going to, for now, I'm going to just make the color of the text white because that will pop off my background. There we go. I'm also going to make you white. There we go. The button text, I say to make the color of the, well, let's go back to the button text. Let's finish this. So I need to make a span. So I'm going to just grab a couple words here. And notice when I highlight these, it basically will let you put in a span. So I'll grab it, make it italic, and that's it. That's as simple as making a span in with inline span here with that. I don't like that this is getting eaten up by this guy, so I'm actually going to make my hero area a little higher than 500 pixels. So I'm going to go into, right, section. Nope, I want the container. Let's make the container, instead of the height, let's make it, I don't know, 600. Right? So all I've done is just try to make that. This right here, I don't like the way that this is over him and still hard to read. So I'm going to actually do some trick. This isn't in the instructions, but I'll just show you some tricks here. So I'm actually going to make that a negative, I don't know, 100 pixels margin. And see, I'm bringing it up. So let's actually bring it, let's bring it negative 200. Still don't like that this is over this guy's head. Of course, I should be looking at it at different contexts. Good enough. I don't love that. I don't love it, but again, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, so what's next here? Create a span around the world. Place lens, image. Bold another color. Change the button to the same color on your nav button color. So I guess that would be, is it that? Make the button change color on hover. Okay, so I'm going to grab my button here and I'm just going to change its background color to, I'll make it go to that color. And then on hover, how do we do that? We need to go over here and go to the hover state and we'll change our color and I'll just make it this color just because it's convenient and it's there. And let's see, give the button 8 pixel rounded corners. So let me make sure I have my button. I don't have it in a hover state because I want this to do all the states. I'll just give it 8 pixels. Use the slider, why not? Change the height of the hero area at the different sizes. Art direct image so it makes sense with position. Oh, that's what I was doing when I was fuffling with that. So you already saw how I did that, right? You can go down a size and maybe here, right? Because this guy's head's getting cut off and I don't like it. I will go ahead and just change the height, or you know what? Maybe I'll even just take this and make it minus 300 pixels. There we go. Now it's off this dude right here, right? So it's all about readability and things like that. Change the sizes, padding of your text to make it fit at small sizes and not abut the window edge. And so really all I'm saying there is, right, as we get smaller, right, we don't want that to hit it. So you may want to actually make your header a little smaller at a size. So that's like, I'm going to go in and make this, I don't know, 24 pixels. I'm also going to go into this. And I think what I'll do is just add padding. So if you hold Option and drag, you can actually affect both sides. So I'm just going to do that. Now, if your heading's really long, a really long heading that wraps and hits the side, right? Instead of putting the padding there, so what I'll do is I'll just delete this. Woo, no, because now you changed my text color. I will, I'll just real quick fix that. There we go. Instead, I could go to this div block and let me go ahead and put a padding on it of like, yes, make sure there's space, right? We never want things to hit the edges here like that. We should obviously look at it at other ones. Now, I stupidly just set the text only in that smallest context, so I actually have to reverse out up to here and change my text there. So that way it's all the places and all looking good. And that right there is the hero section.